make an egg pasta. We start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of semolina flour, a half a teaspoon of salt, and I mix it up well. We put that onto the counter, clean work surface. Make sure your hands are clean. Make sure your work surface is clean. Put it into a mound like that on the counter. We're going to hollow it out with the back of our hand. Make enough room for 5 large eggs. We're going to pour that into the well or the bowl, if you want to call it that. We're going to put a 1 teaspoon of olive oil right into the mix. Now we're going to get a fork and we're going to start to mix that in. You go slowly, pull a little flour in at a time and keep mixing it in. We're trying to get the egg mixture to thicken up with the flour. So obviously if you had a hole in the in the wall of this flour well, the eggs would just run out. So you want to mix it, keep mixing flour in as you go along. So you keep pushing flour in, keeping the walls secure. But you'll see the egg mixture will get thick, and pretty soon it won't run out if you get a hole in the wall. So you just keep mixing it in. Now the egg is thick enough, we can just get rid of the fork and we can just start to fold the flour in. So you just do it by hand. Just fold it in. Then we're going to knead it. We're going to knead it for about 5 minutes. So as you're kneading it, you'll recognize the fact of whether it's too moist or if it's too dry. If it's too moist, you just add a little bit of flour. And if it's too dry, I just add a little bit of water. You'll know after the first time you do it, after you make your pasta, you'll know what it's like. This one here was a little bit dry, so right now I'm putting a few drops of water on there. And it's really not a lot because a few drops of water will go a long ways. And you just knead it in. And then just for a minute or so, and you can feel it. I make it into a ball. I wrap it in plastic wrap. And then I put it in the fridge for a couple hours. Okay, so the pasta's been in the fridge for a couple hours. I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut it into strips. These are like a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick. We just cut them and lay them on the counter. You don't have to do anything to them right now. You don't have to flour them or anything. We're going to be making the pasta with our KitchenAid stand mixer. So here it is. I put the power on and I put it on speed 2. And this is the pasta roller. It's a pasta attachment, comes with the kitchen that you can get for the KitchenAid. So this is on setting 1, and we just run the pasta through. The part you're going to put through the roller first is I pinch together a little bit so it'll go through a little easier. Then I just fold it. I fold it up and I run it through. I'm going to run through a couple times, just make it a little more pliable. And then you just watch the sides. If the sides are all jagged edge like that, I fold it opposite ways and run it through like that. This way the edges become the top and the bottom rather than the sides. So I just fold it a few times, make it pliable. I watch the edges. I run it through until I get straight edges. And then we put it on setting 2. Once you have your pasta where you want, you put it through on setting 2. And then I go through to setting 5. This is setting 3. The roller attachment goes to setting 8. You can make very thin pasta if you want. So if you were making spaghetti and you want really thin spaghetti, you can do that too. That pasta will cook very fast. Cook like 3 minutes in boiling water. This pasta here takes about 6 minutes to boil as I do it. But I just go to setting 5. You run it through each time, put it through to setting 5. Once you get through setting 5, you have a very long sheet of pasta. So I put it on a floured counter. Then I just continue making the rest of my sheets. So I'll show you. That's setting 1 again, and we just take it and run it through. You know, you pinch the edge, run it through. It's got jagged edges, so I kind of keep folding it. So I fold it in and fold it in again, and then you'll see that the jagged edges just tend to disappear. So you'll know how to do it. After you run it a few times and you do it a few times, you'll understand. Then you just do settings up till 5. Like I said, you can go to 8, you can go to 6, you can go to 7. But it only goes to 8. I stop at 5. It makes a good spaghetti when I'm doing it. So I'm going to show you the cutting with the spaghetti roller. Once the sheets are done, I lay them on the counter. Or once a sheet is done, I lay it on the counter. I'll show you how I do it as I do sheet by sheet. So I make the sheet, I put it on the counter. I put a little flour on it. Then I put the next sheet on top of that. Then I put flour on top of that. Then I do the next sheet. But if you do it like this, it's all floured and it won't stick together. That's the main goal here, is to make sure it's not sticking together. This is the spaghetti attachment. I also have a fettuccine attachment, but I'm not going to show you that today. But once again, we just turn the power on and we run it through once. I mean, it cuts the spaghetti fairly fast. Usually one sheet is about one portion for me. So it's not sticking together. It comes through, it cuts it very clean. The KitchenAid pasta attachment is very nice. I know some people like to take their pasta and hang it on a pasta rack. They make pasta racks to dry your pasta. You can do that. I like to freeze mine. This way I don't have pasta hanging all over the place. And I like to just form it into nests. And I flour them. I let them dry on the counter, and then I put them in the freezer. Put them in the freezer in a container. So you just finish cutting your sheets. So I like to do it, if I'm doing fettuccine, I like to have at least 2 portions in case I need 2 portions at one time. Same thing with linguine or spaghetti. Spaghetti I cut the most. It cooks the quickest, and right from the freezer to a boiling pot takes about 6 minutes. So finish cutting your sheets. So far I've cut like 3 or 4 sheets, and that makes a pretty good mound of pasta. You can see it looks quite nice. It's not sticking together. When it's on the counter though, I like to flour it and then toss it around a little bit. So I put some flour on it, and then I toss it around. This way you guarantee it's not going to stick together as it's sitting, because the pasta does absorb the flour that's on the outside, so it can then become sticky. After you do it a few times, you'll understand what your best option is. I just put a little flour on, toss it, then I form it into nests, and then I put the nest on the counter, and I let it dry like that. Now here's a different way without using the machine. You just fold the pasta roll over, you go to the open side, and you can just cut it by hand. It only takes a second, cuts fairly quick. You just unravel those pastas. I'm just going to show you a little bit. Just unravel them, and you do the same thing. You form it into a nest, and you put a little flour on it, and you have pasta that way too. This is like a thick fettuccine that I did, thicker than anything you see in the store. So if you ever have company over and you cook like fettuccine Alfredo and stuff, and they eat that, they're going to understand just by looking at it that it's fresh pasta. They're going to know it's not something you bought in a box in dried pasta section. So you can finish cutting up all your pasta like I like to do that. That's thick. I can also do a linguine. This is how I cut the linguines up. You just cut them thinner. I mean, I can even cut spaghetti with these sheets. It's not that difficult. You just cut it thin. And obviously it won't all be exactly uniform, but it does seem to work. So you can just cut it all up. You run it through the machine, cut it up, do whatever you want to do, cut it any way you want. You know, if you don't want to cut it, if you're making lasagna, as soon as you're done running it through the pasta roll or just the sheets, you have the sheets for lasagna. It's all made up. That's good. So this is I got like 10 orders out of that, or 10 portions we'll call it. So I have it on the counter. I'm going to let it dry for maybe an hour and a half or so. So I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching.